Martha Sharp was one of the founding five members of the Unitarian Service Committee, which later became UUSC. She was a social worker, married to the Reverend Waitstill Sharp, who was a Unitarian minister serving a congregation in Wellesley Hills, Massachusetts. And Martha and Waitstill were approached in late 1938 by Robert Dexter, who was the director of social relations at the American Unitarian Association, which we might call social justice today. And they asked the couple if they'd be willing to go to Czechoslovakia to assist refugees fleeing the Nazis there. So in February of 1939, Martha and Waitstill left their two young children with friends of the congregation and traveled to Prague. And along the way to Prague, they met with others in the resistance and they set up networks of volunteers who would later become really indispensable with keeping them safe and helping get refugees out.
At the border of Holland, and the Germans let us go through. When we arrived on the border, at the other side of the border in Holland, the passport man looked through the passports and he said, "Mrs. Sharp, these two men, the United Press and the Associated Press representatives, are not on your list, and I'm throwing them off. I'm sending them back to Germany." And these two men, I'll never forget, got down on their knees and begged, and they threw off their luggage. And I went on, I said, those two men are on my list. You didn't turn it over and look on the other side. They said, "Oh, no, 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 you must have put it there afterwards." I said, "If you make an incident, I'll take my whole group off and I'll wire the United States government and I'll tell them what you're doing to people like us who have legitimate visas." And so they said, all right, and they went out and got the men and put them back on the train, and the train moved on.
Her work became the basis of the Kinder transports in Britain, which moved thousands of Jewish children out of Nazi-occupied Europe. Her work with the Unitarian Service Committee inspired her to run for Congress in 1946. She lost to the incumbent, Joe Martin, who repeatedly called Martha a little girl during his campaign. Martha remained committed to social justice throughout her life, continuing to work with USC and serving on the National Security Resources Board. And this is a really big honor. In 2006, Martha and Waitstill were the second and third U.S. citizens to be named Righteous Among the Nations, which is an honor bestowed to non-Jewish individuals who risked their lives to aid Jews during the Holocaust. Martha's legacy reminds me every day that I need to use my own privilege to keep the wheels of justice moving and to remember that moral outrage is a source of power that can be used and harnessed in useful ways. No matter how many times the situation seemed impossible, Martha trusted the community of people that she gathered around her, and she persisted. And she didn't allow sexism to end her justice work, no matter how many opponents sought to diminish her. She knew her power and she knew how to persist through adversity. So that's something I keep with me in my own work.